Today on My First Concert. Local musicians who were influenced by the first concert they ever attended tell their stories today of who it was and the impact it had on them. Today's show brought to you from the Aquarius Home Services Studios and brought to you by our bank here at Talk North, Star Bank. Find them online at star.bank. Hi, everybody. Dave Lee back with you along with producer Davide Rosso. These past couple of years, we have talked with a lot of musicians and fans, and today we hear a few of those first concert memories from the music makers. In the leadoff spot, Chase of the world's premier Prince tribute band, Chase and Ovation, who, by the way, will be one of the bands at Wild Nights at the Minnesota Zoo August 9th at the amphitheater. I was at the first one recently, and it was outstanding. And when Chase and Ovation get the Prince music going, the place will fill up fast. Also at Buckner's Bar, they'll be there the next day on August 10th here in Minneapolis, and October at the Chanhassen Dinner Theater with that beautiful sound and that wonderful theater. Chase, who grew up here in the Twin Cities, and who Prince once gave the thumbs up to him on the night he was playing at First Avenue, and you can hear that entire story on episode 87 here on My First Concert with Dave Lee, but it is a great story. Chase is a wonderful person, and as an entertainer, there's nobody better. And so it made me wonder not only about the first concert he saw, but besides Prince, who influenced him as a terrific entertainer?
Man.
Or among the first?
Yeah, well, I would go to 1976. There were actually two at the old Met in Bloomington, Minnesota. Now, people would be amazed that aren't from here. That's where the Mall of America stands. And prior to the mall, there was a number of things out there. The Carlton Celebrity Room was there. Oh, yeah. I remember my adoptive father trying to sneak me into the Carlton. And that's where everybody came. You know, if you weren't playing at the Met, you did the Carlton when you came through town. But summer of 76, my stepmother took me to see two concerts at the Met. One, and I don't remember the sequence, which one came first, but one of them was Elton John.
Wow.
And the other was Neil Diamond.
Nice.
And at 7 years old, I was turning, so I saw them in the summer of 76. I was turning 8 at the end of that summer in August. Point being, I remember sitting in the Met and not being able to see the stage very well, not because our seats were far away, but there was a haze in the room. It was very smoky, smelled weird. I'm not sure what it was. I'm only 7 at the time, but I knew magic was about to happen. And both of those concerts, they hit, the history books would show which came to town first. But in any event, when the musicians hit the stage, I watched 15,000 adults lose their minds. And I spent as much time watching the crowd as I did watching Neil or Elton. And seeing the crowd's reaction at 7 years old, I looked to my left and to my right were my two stepsisters, and my stepmother, their mother, was acting the same way the other. She had tears coming down her eyes, and I knew at that instant, I don't know what's happening to these adults, but I want to participate. I pointed to the stage and I said, I want to do that. So at 7, I was done. I knew I wanted to be on the stage, participating in evoking that type of reaction from people.
And did he? Check their website out at Chase and Ovation and see one of their shows. L.A. Buckner is a drummer that is working, well, a lot. A great session player. Maybe you've seen him at First Avenue as a performer or elsewhere. He is currently working on his new album as well. But as usual, I was curious about this professional musician and what was the first concert L.A. Buckner ever saw.
MTV used to have a show called TRL, right? And they went on tour all around the country. And I saw the TRL tour, and it was a bunch of artists. It was Eve, a young lady rapper who's now the wife of a billionaire. So she don't even rap no more. It was 3LW. It was Nelly and the Saint Lunatics. And then the headlining was Destiny's Child.
Oh, my.
Oh, wow.
When there were 3 members, DC3. Yeah. So I was raised on Beyonce, for real. Watching Beyonce DVDs taught me how to play live drums for concerts and that kind of thing. So, yeah, TRL tour when DC3, Destiny's Child, they were headlining. So,
do you remember who you went with? And
yeah,
where it was?
My mom and my sister, Target Center, downtown Minneapolis.
Nice.
Yep.
Even though L.A. is busy performing these days, he is still attending shows when he can.
I'm spoiled. My wife says that she's spoiled because we've experienced everybody we want to see, and we've experienced concerts on a really cool level, and now it's to the point where it's like, if we just look straight for the VIP package or just try to get the seated thing or whatever it is, closer to the stage as possible, I'll pay whatever I need to pay to be comfortable because I can't do standing or general admission. It's just my large black body and a sea of white folks that don't mesh well, right? But I gotta, we still get out to real good shows. I'm going to see Herbie in a couple months. We saw Robert Glasper at the Dakota. We take a date night. So seeing live shows is still important. It's research for me.
Sure it is.
So I'm quote unquote enjoying it, in another way. I'm really on study mode though. Any show I go to, it has to be, worth I want to study. I want to steal from them and incorporate it into my thing.
Are you watching the drummers?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. And, taking note of what I like and what I'm going to take and taking note of what I do differently and how I think every musician, when they see other musicians, they kind of hear what they would do differently, but it's still enjoyable though.
How about the stage presence? Is there anybody, do you watch people to see how they present themselves?
Yeah. Rest in peace. We just lost a pioneer in gospel drumming, R&B, pop drums, Aaron Spears. But for swagger and how you should turn your head when you hit the cymbal and the kind of power you should play with and how you should breathe and how you should look. Aaron Spears, I got a lot of swag from him. And Calvin Rogers. When you want to know what to look like as a professional drummer, just watch Calvin Rogers, the #1 gospel drummer in the world.
Dave Lee, many more stories coming up here in just a minute. I do want to say thanks to our bank here at TalkNorth.com. That's star.bank. That's where you can check them out digitally, which I know a lot of us like to do because it's convenient and it's easy. I always say, though, if you're looking at a home loan or you're looking at a business loan or whatever it is, stop by the bank. They still have that hometown feel that they had when they started those banks many, many years ago. It's the same family that owns them, now 10. Here in Minnesota, including right here in the metro. I don't know if it's going to be managing inventory, paying vendors, covering operated expenses. There's a lot to think about in business. But they have competitive rates at star.bank and flexible terms, too, that you can rely on. Experienced bankers offering guidance and support to help your business thrive. And thinking of a loan, well, the turnaround time is great. Service, outstanding. Home equity line of credit, home mortgage, business loan, ag operating, equipment loans, campers, RVs, whatever, they handle it all. Personal banking, checking, savings, all the things that go along with it. Digital banking services, as I mentioned. But experienced banking at your fingertips are right there in one of their great banks around Minnesota. I'd call Star Bank today or online at star.bank. By the way, they do answer their phones with a live person. Loans are subject to a loan application and approval. Member FDIC and equal housing lender. They are our bank here at TalkNorth.com. Another drummer today and another local performer, John Bongo Haga. John still performs and would love it if you stopped by his music store in downtown Hopkins, Bongo's and Bud's Music Center. In fact, maybe you have seen his T-shirt, Bongo Johnny's Drum Shelf, on the cover of Rolling Stone. No fooling. Chrissie Hynde of the Pretenders was wearing it when she was a cover story. One of the many musical nuggets from John, and you can listen to John on episode 79 when you get a chance for that and a lot of other great stories. But let's get to a concert story of his in Minneapolis, where he was and grew up, like our previous guest did. And he was influenced a lot by the performer he saw.
And there was this guy coming to the Guthrie Theater, and a friend of mine had his new album. It was Miles Davis, and the album was Bitches Brew. So I went to my mom and I said, Mom, Miles Davis is playing at the Guthrie. Can I get a ticket? I want to go to that show. So she ended up with a single ticket on the end of row 1, seat 1. But I'm seeing these great artists. It's just a whole stage of the best at that time for acid jazz or, free jazz, whatever you want to call it. And I ended up kind of going, well, I don't get this, but someday maybe I will. And that was during the time where Miles would have a bunch of microphones set all over the stage, and he would wander around and lean into a microphone and play. And then he'd wander to another one and wander around. And he gets to a certain point where his mute falls out, and it hits the stage, and it rolls, and it goes over, it goes boom, 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 down the stairs. Stage right, seat 1, row 1. So I'm holding Miles Davis's mute, and I wait for the end of the song, and I just stood up, leaned forward, handed it to him. We didn't make eye contact. I didn't make eye contact with him because I didn't feel I had enough chutzpah to do
right.
that.
He didn't have the moxie to do
and,
that.
so he takes it. I sit down on my seat, and this patchouli marinated guy sitting next to me goes, "That's the coolest thing that'll ever happen to you in your life." And I went, "Well, okay." Doesn't give me much to look forward to. So I have that in my scrapbook, and I had a ticket stub, and I gave it to a friend of mine who was a big Miles Davis fan, and he can attest to that.
Boy.
But that was a big one for me.
Another entertainer who has joined us on My First Concert, Dessa, singer, songwriter, and author. She lives in the Twin Cities, but also in New York City. And like many of you listening, she attended her first concert with her mom.
Okay, so I admit that I've always been really lousy with remembering the sequence of events. Like, you know what I mean? I got the detail down and I can't remember exactly in which order they all happened. So my first concert that I remember impacting me was either the one that my mom took me to. So she would have picked the artist where we saw in St. Paul at the O'Shaughnessy Theater, Joan Baez, and opening for her was Dar Williams. Or it was a concert that I saw with friends at a stadium that was Gwen Stefani, and the opener there was Poe. But both of them, I remember having, being really affected, and all female artists, kind of incidentally on those bills. Yeah.
Yeah, Joan Baez, powerful. So, how old were you when you went with your mom? About approximately.
I would say probably like 12.
Wow, how cool is that, though? You
like
go with
that.
your mom to a concert like that?
Yeah, and my mom has this phenomenal voice. So she was a singer, she was singing throughout my entire childhood. So very much like a kind of a portal and a conduit into music for me. Yeah.
Now, after that, as a performer, by the way, when did you first perform publicly out of curiosity? And do you remember that?
I don't. Okay, now I just feel like this podcast is like, why can't Dessa recall her own life? I remember singing a cappella at my 8th grade graduation. So this was obviously not a ticketed event, but that I remember putting together like a medley of Madonna and Boys to Men and singing that and being nervous and excited to do so. And then again, like at a talent show, probably in high school. But I think the first time, that I would have like performed in a more public way where people weren't likely to be related to me, was probably at about 20 or 21 when I started performing slam poetry. So I was competing at places like Kieran's Irish Pub in Minneapolis. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Were the first ones nerve-wracking at all? Did they bother you at all? Were they making nervous?
Oh, 100%. Yes. I remember if you'll forgive me to parade around an oft-told anecdote, but I remember being so nervous and, writing which is what had been my first interest, is such a cerebral, solitary act. And you don't have to worry what you look like when you're writing, And all of a sudden to become like a visual presence as an artist, I found that disconcerting. I wasn't super into it. I thought, well, I'm not a visual artist. I work with words, right? But I remember going to buy like a pair of satin pants that I thought were really flattering. But then when I saw video later, it looked like I was, oh my God, it looked like I was a woman from the waist up and a waterfall from the waist down because my knees were shaking so badly that it was just constant shimmer. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hey, thanks, Dessa. That's another great episode. I hope you tune in. That will be episode 75, and Dessa is just terrific. What an entertainer. You know what I'm talking about if you've seen her, but if you haven't, listen to her talk on My First Concert, wherever you get your podcasts, on Apple, Spotify, or here at TalkNorth.com, wherever it might be. Hey, Dave here for my friends at AquariusHomeservices.com who make this whole thing possible. Some say as you age, surprises diminish, but daily I am astounded by my love for Connecticut water treatment systems. It's a constant delight. And with Connecticut in both my home, and maybe it's in your cabin too, a lot of people have it both places, I can confidently say it's the best. Just like the Aquarius team is. The minimal salt usage, that pristine cleanliness of your laundry, your dishes, your showers, it's unbeatable. I've seen it. I see it every day. Plus, this is really cool. It runs on zero electricity. My recommendation, get a free water analysis from AquariusHomeservices.com and be prepared to be amazed by Connecticut water. They do so many great things out there, air conditioning, furnaces, you name it. Aquarius believes in earning the right to be recommended. When I say they're home services, that's exactly what they do. Anything for your home, find out about it. And you can go to AquariusHomeservices.com, or for the water, they're just a click away at ConnecticutMN.com. We have so many stories, and every one of them is interesting. So I encourage you to listen to some of these past podcasts. They're really fun, and we have a treasure trove of musical talent in the state of Minnesota, and a lot of them have joined us in the past years, and a lot of fans who have some wonderful stories. As you remember those concerts that you went to, just tune into the podcast. My first concert with Dave Lee on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, including here at TalkNorth.com. For our music producer, the talented Davide Rosso, Dave Lee saying thanks to Star.Bank. Great service for you every time you walk in or visit digitally. And of course, from the AquariusHomeservices.com studios, Jeff and his staff at Aquarius are quite impressive, and I've known that for over 2 decades. Find out why they get quality ratings at AquariusHomeservices.com. Water treatment, plumbing, electrical, air conditioning, furnaces, and more. AquariusHomeservices.com. And thank you for taking the time to listen. And I hope your next concert is a memorable one.